And sometimes I can't tell when we're live. Okay, we're live now.
Okay.
Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to Unmuted. We had the Unmuted Power Lab last Friday, which is the female-only virtual networking space, which was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
And then today we have the beautiful, amazing Jamie with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so excited. Jamie and I actually met through a mutual friend last year. And I was doing a fellowship for social entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And Chanda, I hope she's here, she introduced us, and I am just eternally grateful. Such a beautiful person she is. If you guys aren't familiar, check out Social Wellbeing. That's our mutual friends organization.
Yes.
She does a lot of really amazing things.
She really does. Shout out, Chanda.
Yep. So if you're just joining us, let us know where you're joining from. Put in the chat, say hello. It's always really cool to see where folks are joining from. And also, as we were like chatting and going along, if you have questions for Jamie or questions for me, put them in the chat. We can't respond in the chat, but we can respond verbally. So, and we also can't see who's joining us. So it's also, it makes us feel a little more loved when we see it in the chat. So don't be shy.
We're friendly.
Exactly. We don't bite. And if this is your first time here, just to give you a heads up about what Unmuted is, it's a platform that I created for women. It started with this podcast. And we have amazing folks like Jamie on, lots of different types of women from all over the world have been on. So people who are fundraising consultants, folks who are social workers in the workforce development space, coaches, real estate agents, and I know that's like one of many things you do because you're just very multi-talented. But yeah, so we've had a lot of really awesome women on this podcast, and it's grown. I mentioned the Power Lab, which is a virtual networking space. We had 30 women join last Friday, so it was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And yeah, just continuing to build. I actually just started an Unmuted community on LinkedIn. So check that out. It's, again, just a space for women. And, you know, feel free to participate in that space. So before further ado, I'm going to hand it over to the beautiful Jamie to tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you, Paige. And again, shout out to Shonda. Thank you for connecting Paige and me because it's been so authentic and natural, and we're appreciative of you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Paige, thank you for your just allowing me to come on today, share space with you, share my story and my journey, and connect with your dynamic community, which I did join on LinkedIn.
Yay!
So I'm Jamie Beale Howe, and my organization, my company is JBH Enterprises. I always say I'm not that creative, y'all, because it's just my initials. Really not, I didn't think too deeply about it, but that's what it is. But JBH Enterprises kind of was birthed because I got tired of watching brilliant women build legacy and wealth for other people and not for ourselves and for themselves. My background is in institutional real estate management. So publicly traded REITs, you see that acronym, it's real estate investment trusts. So the shareholders, the big properties, actually mostly in the DMV area, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. I am a Maryland woman living in Florida right now, but my career was in institutional real estate. And as I kept climbing the corporate ladder, because I was conditioned to believe that success looked like getting a corporate job, staying in it, climbing the ladder, and retiring. And that was the lens that I had. I did all those things and still felt so unfulfilled. Like there has to be more to life than just making billionaires more billions. And I noticed a pattern in commercial real estate that women primarily and members of underrepresented communities were doing the work and putting in, day out, doing all the things, but the wealth was still transferring to the shareholders, then the wealth was transferring to the higher ups. And I thought, this doesn't align with me. There's so many creative people. And so that was kind of why I birthed JBH Enterprises. It's the intersection of all of my passions: commercial real estate, women's wealth and health, and cultural intelligence. And some people say, well, I don't understand how all of those lanes kind of intersect, but they do. The real estate piece is easy to understand, right? I spent 20 years, the designations, the institutional real estate, blah, 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 all the fancy stuff. But I learned how wealth was built through real estate. The women's wealth piece came in because, I sat across from women who were spending just as much time behind the scenes building everybody else's legacies, but then didn't have the same to show for themselves and building their own legacy. And then the women's health piece, life has a way of throwing things at you, and you have to kind of navigate through those spaces. I didn't plan on being in this health segment, but I navigated a breast cancer journey. I navigated an IVF journey to start our family with our cool little dude. And I realized as I was sitting in waiting rooms, sitting in doctor's appointments, that women's wealth and health are connected, because when your body becomes the crisis, everything that you haven't built yet becomes urgent.
Mm.
And then everything that you have built becomes the foundation that holds you together as you're navigating those spaces. So they're very much connected. So JBH kind of said, okay, cultural intelligence allows us to understand that we need support and we have to move through the world through our cultural lens and others. Real estate is the tool to help us build wealth, and our health and wealth are connected. Because if we're not healthy, then it's going to be pretty hard for us to navigate spaces. So that's a long-winded way of telling you how JBH was birthed, but I want to support women and help us build legacy and wealth, and not just do all of the work and then keep passing the wealth along to everybody else.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
And I forgot for a moment. I'm glad you reminded me that you're originally from this area, because I just had the Florida piece in my mind.
Yes.
So yeah, we have that in common. I love that.
We do. I'm a Columbia girl. Grew up in Columbia and then went to Loyola in Maryland.
I knew. That's right. I remember the Loyola part. I don't think I realized Columbia. That's so funny.
Yeah.
It's a small world after all.
It is, man. It is. It is. I live in Florida and I love Florida, but Maryland will always have my heart. That's what my family is still.
Well, you're definitely a water person. That's for sure. I think it's like once you have that, it's in you. You can't get away from that. If you're just joining us, let us know where you're joining from. Put it in the chat. We love to hear and see where folks are joining from. Yeah. And if you have any questions for Jamie, put them in there too.
Please.
She's here for you. All right. And feel free to, if you want to connect with one another, put your LinkedIn or any other contact information you want to share in the chat, right? This is intended for people to really actually connect. It's not intended for us to just talk at you. Jamie has a wealth of knowledge, and we have a very limited amount of time here today. So, she's someone that if you wanted to connect with after, you should. Please. So drop your, and other people that are here listening as well. So drop your information in the chat if you want to connect with folks. All right, well, let's dive into our questions that we've been asking all of our amazing women.
Okay.
Our first question is, what is a mindset shift that you had along your journey that has really shaped the way you lead today?
My mindset shift was from performing, like this performing excellence. You get a job and you have to perform and be excellent, to really embodying my purpose. When you are performing and you feel like your worth is tied to the labor that you're producing, then it can feel very limiting, because it's at the discretion of the people that you're working for to determine your value. So when I shifted that mindset from I need to perform and to be excellent at performing for this group of people to no, my purpose is deeper than that. I need to align myself with my mission and my purpose. Then that mindset shift allowed me to navigate spaces a little differently. And I'll say what
Yeah.
started that mindset shift for me was really digging into cultural intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
We're not monolithic. None of us are. There are no two people that are exactly the same. So cultural intelligence allowed me to say, listen, I'm moving through the world through my lens, and I've been conditioned to believe that certain things are right and wrong or good and bad based off of the influential people that have shaped my life. But that's me. That's cultural self-awareness. We need cultural
Mm.
other awareness as well, which is everybody else is moving through the world through their respective lenses as well. And they too have been conditioned to believe what's right and wrong. So when I shifted my mindset and adapted my behaviors, like from a mutually culturally adaptive perspective,
Yeah.
that mindset shift allowed me to say, no, both can be true. I can believe
Mm.
that this is true, and I can understand that someone else believes that the way that they're leading is right as well. And how do we bridge the two? But I needed to shift from that.
That's incredible. What was the catalyst to even get to that? I think that's something like some of us never get there, right?
Mm.
How did you get to that? What was that spark or that thing?
I think it was because, through organizations, you have a lot of leadership changes.
Uh-huh.
And I noticed that a lot of leaders were leading everybody the same way. So I grew up playing basketball. That was my thing. I played in from 5th grade all the way through college until my senior
Oh,
year. Then I tore my ACL again, and I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna just go hang out. But I
got
say
it.
that because what I learned in that is that you can't coach all of your players the same way. You have to coach people to their strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you build a cohesive and collaborative team, because you're not expecting everybody to do the same thing. You're capitalizing on the strengths of each one of your players, and the combination of all of that is how you build a strong team. And I learned that a lot of leaders coming in had the same playbook, and they were coaching everybody the same way. And they were lacking the ability to see the creativity in each person, because maybe they didn't want to, or maybe because they didn't have to. But
Mm.
that's when I noticed, okay, everybody that comes in an executive leadership role is coaching and leading the exact same way, and we're losing sight of the differences and the power of capitalizing
Mm-hmm.
the differences. So that was
Yeah.
the catalyst for me.
I love that. The power of capitalizing on people's differences. We often look at it as a deficit
Right.
versus an asset. And then you miss the opportunities of what you learn from people who are unlike you or different than you. You made me think about our school systems, and this may seem random, but I'll bring it full circle.
Please.
And we like in a system, an education system, right? Like we teach all the children the same way, and we're learning like everybody's different, and different kids need to be taught in different ways. I mean, I guess
Yes.
I have younger children, and I've been through that journey recently with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very relevant. And so I guess it doesn't. Maybe it's pervasive through all levels of humanity.
Yes.
Um, but you're right, and people lose people, and you lose good people when you're just assuming everyone, because they're human, is the same, functions the same, communicates the same. All of those things that make us each individuals. Oh, I love
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, that's a superpower as a leader. I feel like your
Yeah.
superpower should be the ability to recognize the uniquenesses within your team members. And then as a
Hmm.
leader, I feel like it's your responsibility or our responsibility to say, how can I build a team that capitalizes on everybody's strengths? Being the jack of all trades, master of none is not a benefit to anybody.
Hmm.
Being a subject matter expert and then having a leader that says, I'm going to elevate you in this space,
Hmm.
in this room, and invite you in to come sit at this table because I see
Right.
the value in what you're bringing. And I don't want you to be
Hmm.
like Paige. I want you to be Jamie. and let me
Right.
know that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You said
Hmm.
something else in the beginning too, after I asked this question, was that we're socialized in certain ways. And that was something like that was your initial part of the mindset shift was like undoing the way that you were socialized to think about some of this. And that's
Absolutely.
hard.
Hmm.
So hard, but very real. We are truly from the time like in early academia, all the way, pressures all over the place of a box. So that's, yeah, really, yeah.
That's exactly right. And when we talk about culture, we talk about people tend to use culture synonymously with race and with
Hmm.
gender. And
Hmm.
we invite people to look at culture different. Culture is this agreed upon set of expectations within a social community.
Exactly.
And that
Yeah,
determines how we engage with people that share our cultural beliefs and how we engage with people who do not.
exactly. Even if it's inside an organization, a workplace, that
1000.
community can be your workplace. I think people forget that stuff. We talk,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's where that culture building work exists and why it exists. Because
Yeah.
I mean, you often spend more time there than you do anywhere else, too.
1000%. And in
Yeah.
commercial real estate, it's a very male dominated industry.
Hmm.
Very.
Yeah.
Um, Especially when you get to transactions, it's very male
Hmm.
dominated. And so what I noticed is that the culture of commercial real estate has its own set of values, and it
Hmm.
depends based on how you align culturally. It will determine how they see you in terms of your competence and your ability. And do you look like the mold? Do you fit the mold of what
Yep.
the culture of commercial real estate is? Which again was
Hmm.
another reason why I said, I really want to create a space where women and people from underrepresented communities feel not only just seen, but that we are also having access to the resources and the tools to build the same wealth and the same legacies that everybody else is building, but we're not always in those
Exactly.
rooms.
Exactly. We're usually not.
Hmm.
But you're making the space for women to be.
Thank
I
you.
love it. I
Thank you.
love it.
Thank you, Paige.
All right. Our second question.
Mhm.
What is a risk that you have taken that really changed everything for you?
Hands down, Paige, the biggest risk that I've taken was leaving my W 2
Uh
and
huh.
using that institutional real estate background, that part of my career, and launching JBH and going solo, that was the biggest risk. Number one, I mean, this is a safe space. We're just saying it. You don't know what
Hmm.
you don't know.
Yeah.
So you have passion, yes, and you have your purpose, yes. But then saying, you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm just going to leave what's safe and comfortable here
Uh-huh.
and launch. And so that was I would say, the biggest risk that I've taken. What I will also say, though, Paige, is that it was the best risk that I've taken.
Okay.
Because I recognize that if I stayed in that institutional commercial real estate space that was felt safe, I was also very much minimizing what I thought that I could provide to other people outside of that space.
Hmm.
Um, and I'll tell you, I think that courage comes from not the absence of fear. I think we still need a little fear, keeps us moving. And I know that could be controversial. I think fear is here to protect us. But if we change the mindset that we don't need to it's get rid of fear altogether, but it's really about how do I take that fear and then turn it into something that I'm facing, which
Hmm.
will remind me of how strong I am. So
Exactly.
courage is also not being fearful of moving towards your purpose. I always say that there's everybody, like, when you're about to do something that's big or that feels different or that's new or that's risky, we tend
Yeah.
to say, I don't know if I can do that though, because what is everybody going to think? And I just did a presentation on this for a client yesterday in DC. And I
Oh my goodness.
and I said, well, who is this everybody that we keep talking about? When we're
Uh-huh.
with something, we keep saying, well, what is everybody going to think? And is everybody going to think that I'm crazy? Is everybody going to say, who does she think she is trying to do
Yep.
something different? And I invite us all to name that everybody, number one. and then to shift it to the crowd of this everybody in our head that keeps us stagnant to your everybody is the people that are waiting for you to show up. And if we
Yeah.
keep allowing this crowd in our heads, it's going to, that fear of what this invisible group of people are going to think or say
Yep.
is going to keep us where we are when we more likely than not have a purpose that is just waiting for us to show up and the communities that are waiting for us to serve them.
Exactly. Now, I love that you brought fear into the conversation. I think we have similar views and uses of fear. I think one other layer to add to that is that there is the fear, and this is very prevalent in my work, and I hear it for you as well. Like, there's the fear that if you don't do this, right, who is going to do this for women and those who don't have access to legacy building? Who, if it's not Jamie? Right. And so there's this fear of like, well, what's going to happen then to other people? Like a fear that lives outside of yourself. And I often think about that in my work, and it's like, well, if I'm not doing the strategy work, or if I am not coaching leaders in a way that is trauma informed and equity based and, truly caring and supportive, because usually it's individuals working in really challenging work environments. And it's like that fear of like, if you don't get comfortable with being uncomfortable and lean into this, you're like, what's going to happen for folks? Who's going to do it?
Yeah.
And I think that's scary. That is scary.
I love that. So it's not necessarily the fear of failure, which I know is a very much a fear. It's the fear that if I don't do this, then what? Then what? And we're here to serve. So
exactly. When you're there serving, when you see yourself as a servant leader or a servant in the community, it's like a real responsibility, I think, that a person feels to stepping up and really putting themselves outside of their comfort zone or taking those risks.
Yes.
And saying like, got to do it because my community needs me.
Yes.
Even though I'm scared.
Yes.
Yeah.
My fear also was burnout. I'm like, if I burn out from being in this corporate environment where I don't fully feel seen, if I burn out, then what am I going to have left to not only serve my communities, but to give to my husband, to give to my little?
Exactly.
I had my little at 40, so we had a long way to go for little man. But little dude, he's 5 going on 15. But I'm
that won't change.
Oh, it doesn't change? Oh,
no, it doesn't change.
Okay.
It just gets different.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for that.
It'll still be there.
My munchkin.
Yeah, but that's very real, That's very, very real.
Absolutely.
All right. Our last question.
Okay.
What is a leadership lesson that you've chosen to unlearn?
I have chosen to unlearn to lead with my resume.
Ooh.
And I've decided to learn to lead with my story and then let the resume follow. And again, I think that's built in the culture of corporate America is you lead with your resume. I've spent 20 years in institutional real estate. I have all of these designations. I'm very smart. I can do blah, 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 blah. And we're taught to lead with your resume. And what I've had to unlearn that and lead with your story. Connection and feeling a sense of belonging is rooted in storytelling. So the more that we can lead with our stories, the more connection that we have and feel. And then I think we can lead better once we understand our commonalities and even where we differ. But you learn that through storytelling and connection. So, and then your resume can follow. That can be the supplementary part of the conversation. But leading with your story is something that I had to learn and unlearn just to lead with your resume. Your resume will get you in the room. Your story will help you navigate how to build your legacy.
Yeah. I love that. When did you realize that? Like, you've done a lot of things in your career.
Thank you.
When did you realize that? Because I think that's a huge takeaway. I've just recently been networking more, and you do hear that all the time. And I mean, folks here who know me, and Jamie, you know me. It's like I'm very much like I want to know the person, So it's like I kind of struggle in some of those spaces because it's like that's great, like, and you don't want to be disrespectful,
Right.
because like that's fantastic. But tell me about you. When did you realize like I'm putting that aside and this stuff is more important?
Honestly, I would say when I launched, or slightly after I launched, and I'm coming up on my 5th year. So I can't even say, I learned this. Thank you, girl. I can't even say it was like years ago. I'm like, I just learned that.
Yeah.
Because I will tell you something that I had a life coach, Obenawa Mpanza. We grew up together, and then we reconnected. And when I was launching my business, and I was like, I feel scattered and I needed some direction. And she was my person to help me get there and figure things out. But one thing that she said to me, which stuck, is you need to mourn the loss of the Jamie that you thought you were going to be, because the only thing that you really associated, a large part of your identity, was your title and your career, real estate. And so you thought that was going to be your forever. And so when you decided to launch and you saw all the cultural changes and it no longer aligned, she's like, you need to mourn the loss of that part of you, and then become the part of Jamie that the next level of you was going to need to move forward. And I thought, oh gosh, that is really good, because part of me mourning the loss of that Jamie was also recognizing that that part of Jamie that had the corporate filter was you lead with your resume. So it was all of that at the same time. When I launched, I thought, okay, I have to let go of that part of Jamie, and I'm growing Jamie 2.0. And
Jamie 2.0, I love it.
I gotta grow that Jamie. And that's not going to be leading with the resume. It's going to be leading with story and letting the purpose lead me, and not any other emotion that I was feeling when I decided to pivot.
Yep. Love that. We've had some folks in the chat. Christina, I'm so glad you're here. She said she's been told that before too.
It's real. It is, because a lot of, going back to, again, cultural intelligence, a lot of it is that the influential people in our lives have conditioned us to believe that success looks a certain way, whatever that is.
Yep.
So when you're leaving that and you're walking closer to your North Star, when your essential self of who we are built to be, and our social selves, which is who we've been conditioned to believe we need to be.
Yes.
When they are misaligned and you're moving away from your North Star, oh yeah, you can feel really disconnected. So the more that our essential selves and our social selves are connected, then yeah, we can mourn the loss of that other person. We're moving closer to our essential selves.
Yeah, I love that. And people will throw you, I remember, like, I found before I had my consulting business, I was within a nonprofit for almost a decade in Baltimore City. And I mean, that's what sparked all of this for me. And I remember my first week, and I was in my mid-20s. I was very intimidated. I was sitting in my first board meeting. And I remember one of the board members looking at me, and our very first interaction, to the point we just made, very first interaction. And they said, and what do you have your master's degree in? And I was like, oh. And I said, I don't have my master's degree. And it was so like mortifying and crushing. But, like I said, people will try to throw you for a loop. And it really made me look inward and say, like, do I need that? I did actually start to pursue a master's degree, and then realized I'm doing this work already. Why am I pursuing? They've used my projects as examples in this class. This is crazy. Why am I spending $20,000 a year to do this? But yeah, so leadership and the journey is real. Jamie, thank you so much for sharing all of your time and treasure today.
Thank you for having
We really appreciate it. Yes. And folks, reach out to Jamie, connect with her, and let's just keep the conversation going. Have a beautiful Friday afternoon or evening, and have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you all.